As soon as bearings are taken out of their package and put into a skateboard wheel, they're pretty much instantly susceptible to corrosion because they're exposed to everything. So at some point in time, you're going to have to clean your bearings. Now before we get into that, I want to point out that when a bearing is not spinning very well or it's not spinning at all, it's best to just go ahead and replace it because no matter how much cleaning you do or how much lubricant you put in there, it's just not going to work to its intended optimum performance, so it's best to just throw it away. Another thing I want to point out is this. That really cool hissing sound. Now that does not mean that your bearings are broken in or that you got the best brand or ABEC rating. What that means is that your bearings are dry and they're going to fall apart really soon because there's no lubricant in them. So if you hear this, go ahead and put in some lubricant right away or you're going to have to fork out some money to buy some new bearings. Bearings come in different cover types and there's rubber seals and metal shields. So check out the video that I have on how to take them on and off. And also check out the video on how to take the bearings in and out of your wheel really easily. Now the best way to clean bearings is with a bearing cleaning kit, and this one right here is made by Aus Bearings, and this one right here is made by Bones Bearings, and they both should be available at your local shop. I'm also going to show you which cleaners is the best to use and also what lubricants to use. So let's get to it.
Let's take a look at the Bones bearing kit. It's actually pretty simple design. It's just got a metal rod going through the lid. It's got some bearing spacers and a wing nut at the end to hold all the bearings on. If you can't get your hands on a bearing cleaning kit, you can make a less effective one with a sports drinks bottle. But it's not as effective because the bottle's too large and you need to have a lot of force to get the contaminants out. So a little one's better. First thing I did was cut a hole through the lid. And then I took a 6-inch rod that's a 1/4 inch in diameter. Then I took a plumbing gasket that was big enough to go on the rod. And then I slipped the rod through the hole. And then I take a washer, slide it on down. And then I put on a 1/4 inch nut, tighten it all the way down to the bottom. That's how it looks all tightened up. You can see the gasket's nice and snug on the top, so no liquid's going to come out. Then I just have my spacers and put on a wing nut. And if you didn't notice what I use for bearing spacers, it's just the outside of a ballpoint pen. Here's how the Bones kit looks with all the bearings on. And here's the one I made. And here's a better kit I made with a smaller bottle. Looks pretty close, huh? And all you gotta do with either one of these is just fill it up to 1/4 or 1/3 of the way with cleaner and just shake it up. For cleaning your bearings, stay away from extremely dangerous chemicals like acetone, mineral spirits, gasoline, MEK. These are extremely dangerous chemicals and should never be used to clean your bearings. Even rubbing alcohol is bad to breathe in.
What I highly recommend using is citrus cleaner. Citrus cleaners contain orange oil, and orange oil is an organic compound called terpene. Now this terpene contains a hydrocarbon called dilimonene, and dilimonene is used as a solvent, and it's what makes these cleaners work so great. Now a solvent is what is used to dissolve a liquid or a solid. The products that I recommend staying away from are the ones that contain petroleum distillates. Petroleum distillates are a distilled petroleum product that are dangerous for your health. Now citrus cleaners are pretty safe because they only irritate your skin because they dissolve the oils on your skin. Now you can pick these up at a drug, grocery, or hardware store. Just look for the ones that contain orange oil, terpenes, or dilimonene. A lot of them will even say that they're naturally safe, and that's why I recommend them.
Remove the shields and seals from your bearings and wipe them off gently, and then wipe away as much of that dirty black stuff as you can from your bearings. I like how compact the Aus bearing kit is, and it already comes with citrus cleaner inside. Just take one of the bases and just start stacking up the bearings with a spacer in between. When you're stacking, it doesn't matter which side is facing up or down. And now you can see how it looks with all the bearings stacked together. And I'll stick on the other end, and they're ready to go in the case. And now I'll just pour in all the citrus cleaner. And you'll notice that the citrus cleaner is filling up about 1/4 to 1/3 of the way. And I'll just close the lid tight and just give it a really good shake. And what I'm going to do is let it sit for a few minutes, and then I'm going to shake it up again, and I'll do that a few times. Once you're done shaking up your bearings, remove them from the kit, and then tap them around and roll them around on a paper towel and get rid of that extra cleaner and excess dirt. Being able to hold on to the bearings as I roll them and tap them on the counter is another reason why I really like this kit. I can reuse the citrus cleaner left in the kit by just running it through a coffee filter. What I'm going to do next is going to shock probably a lot of you. What I'm going to do now is rinse the bearings off in some hot water to remove that cleaner. This would otherwise be a really bad idea if I just let the water sit in the bearings, because the oxygen in the water will penetrate the steel and oxidize the iron, creating rust. So what I'm going to do is hit both sides of the bearing with a blow dryer, and that way it'll dry it out completely. If it gets too hot for you or you don't have a kit, you can use tongs to hold each bearing.
Once you've got your bearings clean and dry, you can now properly lubricate them with some oil. And what I've got here are 3 different kinds. I've got sewing machine, electronic, and a couple skateboarding. I've got Bones and Oust. Now the type of lubricants you want to stay away from are the thick, heavy ones like motor oil or greases like white lithium grease, and even household oils like 3-in-1. Those are made for big, heavy moving parts and will actually slow down a bearing because they're thick. And because bearings are exposed, they're actually going to collect and hold on to contaminants and actually ruin your bearings. So stay away from those. These lubricants here are actually thin and made for small moving parts that need to move really fast on a regular basis. And that's why I like using sewing machine oil and electronic oil. And what I also like about electronic oil is that some of these come with a hypodermic needle. And that's really handy while you're out skateboarding, because all you gotta do is you don't have to take off your wheel. You can just get right in between the shield and the inner ring and just put in a few drops and then you're good to go. Now the Oust metal oil also comes with a hypodermic needle, so that's pretty handy. Now the noticeable difference between these two is that the Bones Speed Cream is actually thicker than the Oust metal oil. So the Oust metal oil is actually going to be a lot faster for your bearings because it's thin. So I'd go with that one if you need some speed. Now that you know the difference between these lubricants, I can now show you up close how I put the lubricant in.
I only need to put in a few drops for each bearing. And once I get all my seals on, I'm done.
Now you know how to properly clean and maintain your bearings with a bearing cleaning kit using Safe Citrus Cleaner, and you also know what's the best lubricant to use. If you want to know more about bearings, check out the video on specs. This includes ABEC rating and the materials that are used. Now that I've got my bearings clean and lubricated, I can go skate.